Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 3. So in a couple of days from now, we have the long-awaited Season 3 premiere for Superman and Lois. Now, though we know a few things about this season, a good amount of it has been kept a secret, which is quite exciting. It's always good going in and expecting a decent amount of surprises, with really the biggest reveal so far being that Lex Luthor will be showing up later in the season, but even then, a lot of stuff with him is still unknown. But Bruno Mannheim will be the threat we'll be dealing with straight out of the gate, by the sounds of it, in episode 1 and onwards for most of the season, before crossing paths with Mr. Luthor, shall we say. Now, one thing that we knew was going to take focus more in this season than any of the previous seasons is that of Metropolis. Now, this doesn't mean there is heaps of it. There might be, but we just don't know how much of it will be in the season. But just based off stuff that's, been going on in regards to filming in like downtown Vancouver and that whole area, it just seems that it will feature more than the other two seasons at the very least, and that does play into what we'll talk about, in the first part of this video, with the second part focusing on some new things for Season 3 thanks to an interview with an actor, along with an update on Diggle, which might not please a lot of people based off expectations heading into the season, but we'll get around to that eventually. So the filming for the Season 3 finale for Superman and Lois took part over the past week or so, and I'm not sure if it's done yet. I think it still has a couple of days left. I think it might wrap the day of the premiere for Season 3 or the day before, so what's that, tomorrow? But anyway, some of the cast has already wrapped. There was some photos saying like, oh, we wrapped, but we know that I think the end filming date is still like another day or two away, so there might be some minor stuff, so it seems maybe some of this Metropolis stuff is the final stuff they are filming. But yeah, they were filming in Vancouver in areas you'd expect something like the Flash and stuff like that to have filmed previously. And of course, it was a Metropolis set, and it did feature Lois and Clark, not Lois and Superman, but Lois and Clark at a murder scene as journalists/reporters. Now, luckily, there aren't any spoilers past this, which is why I'm talking about it, which is good. But they were both there with journalist accreditation on themselves, so it must be a story worth getting. But also, are they back working at the Daily Planet, or are they here as press for the Smallville Gazette, or are they just using that cover because this connects to something that they're looking into, whether it's something to do with Lex Luthor, or something to do with Bruno Mannheim, or maybe even something else. That is sort of something that wasn't clear, but then again, Clark could just fly them both there super quick if it was a story worth getting, if that is their reason for being there, or if it's connected to something that they're investigating. So it might have nothing to do with them actually specifically being based in Metropolis. Now, there was a cool Easter egg on set with the Metro train line for Metropolis, with lines being named after Superman creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, as well as longtime Superman writers Elliot Maggin and Dennis O'Neil, so I thought that was pretty cool. Now, there was also some shots of Tyler Hoechlin as Superman later in the day, or actually pretty much later into the night for shooting, with his hair looking, wet, as if he is either meant to be in the rain, but it wasn't raining, or he had to dive into the ocean or something to get someone or something. These photos are coming from Canada Graphs' Patreon. You can see the rest via the link in the description. But yeah, there's no major spoilers coming from these, which is good, but enough of an indication as to where things could be going potentially. Now, to repeat what I had been told about a month ago or a few weeks ago, roughly, whatever it was, that there was a potential for the show to move to Metropolis in Season 4 due to certain rental agreements coming to an end. So maybe these scenes with Lois and Clark at the murder scene do link to that. I don't know if it means that now they're going to be based in Metropolis. This is the finale, so sometimes you got to try and connect the dots as to where certain logistical things lie. But who knows what's going on here? It will be a wait and see, I guess. But yeah, just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, the next thing, or just the thing for the rest of this video to go over, is an interview with Wole Parks, who plays John Henry Irons, aka Steel, on Superman and Lois. And in an interview with Screen Rant, he shared some stuff about the upcoming season, not including all the questions, because some of them are just sort of filler. But you can read the entire interview via the link in the description down below, but I'm just going to focus on the main one. I can't wait to see what Chad Coleman is going to do with Bruno Mannheim. How has it been working with him, and what should we expect between Bruno and John this season? I love Chad. I'd met Chad when we did All American together a couple of years ago. We worked together, so we had already had a relationship, but this is much deeper and in depth. Our characters didn't really overlap on an All American. We just saw each other, sat and talked off the lot. Whereas in this one, it's interesting because Bruno's so intense. This is a guy who's running an empire and doing really very well at it. You don't get to that level if you don't take some risk and crack some skulls, basically. There's going to be a lot of fireworks between them and a lot of history. I think that's what's going to be interesting, is that Bruno knows John, but this John does not know Bruno. That puts Bruno at an advantage, and what you're going to find out is John's going to realize that Bruno knows even more than he even thinks. That's going to be interesting to see how that works and plays out, because John's going to have to play catch up. It will be interesting to see where see this season how these two go back and forth a lot. We come to blows a lot. I'll just say that there's a lot of intensity happening, so that gets me pretty excited. A lot of people thought that was going to be the case, the fact that like John doesn't even know what's going on here, just that his doppelganger from this Earth, apparently is dead. Bruno Mannheim and Intergang are connected. So he's going to be pretty much learning a lot of information as we, the audience, are learning it as well. So John's going to be a very good point of view character, I think, which is pretty exciting. You're playing someone who has a doppelganger and had all this history that we've never really gotten into before he got killed. Has Todd Helbing ever given you a one-on-one about what this John was up to before he died, or do you have your own head canon? It's kind of both. I definitely have some idea what this John has been up to. We've flashed out some more of it. We definitely get into some more history of John. What is going to be cool for me in this season is that you get to see more of that side. You get to merge the two worlds, and that's going to be really great. But again, that's why I talk about how Bruno is going to come in, because he knows more about that. Some of it I make up in my own mind, and to be honest, some of it changes as time goes by. This is just the nature of TV. You have an idea maybe one day, and then 2 years later you're like, but what if it's this? Because that has more depth that could play more interestingly. It's been fascinating to delve into that and try to not have my version of John impede on whatever life or mistakes this John made, and find a way to navigate those worlds. So yeah, that just ties into sort of what I was saying before, like him being a POV character and us sort of following him as he's learning different things as well. We know that his doppelganger's family is going to play into this season, mainly his sister and his nephew. So very curious to see how that plays in. For some reason, I have a feeling it wouldn't be a shock if maybe Bruno Mannheim is married to his doppelganger's sister. I don't know why I think that, but that would be like a twist and a half, but we'll wait and see what happens there. Does that mean we might even see some flashbacks? Maybe. I would love to see some flashbacks. We'll see. We definitely learn more about this John, and we'll see some people who I think are going to be very cool, at least for the John of this world. So that sort of ties into what I was saying there before about his family. And I think there will be. I don't know how you can tell this story, especially if you include family members, and there isn't some sort of flashback, whether it's multiple episodes, or even just one episode that focuses on them and maybe even ties into what specifically happened to the other John. I think we might actually get flashbacks to specifically what happened to this Earth's John Henry Irons, whether he's actually dead or not. If he did die, how specifically, how did it happen specifically? Was it Bruno Mannheim himself that did it? Did he make the orders? I think we might get that. I'm not saying we 100% will, but Superman and Lois hasn't shied away from doing flashbacks to really show you something and explain it. They're a big show not tell type of show, so I'd be surprised if we didn't get it. But at the same time, I'm not going to expect it. I'm just basing it off previous seasons and what they've done before. In this world, did this John maybe have a history with Lex Luthor, because we know he is coming this season? We do know he's coming. It's funny, obviously. It's already been released and announced that Michael Cudlitz is playing Lex Luthor, who I'm super excited for. He's going to be very intense. It's a darker version of Lex. There's something a lot grittier than I've seen before, and I really like it, but I'm sure that they have a history. Again, it'll be one of those things where John has a history on this world with Lex. We already know from season 1 that he worked with him. I'd be curious to find out what the history between his Lex and John was. So, once again, I don't know if we'll get flashbacks to that, but it's just more of a response thing. Are you like my Earth? He was a bit of an asshole. So we might get something like that, which could be pretty funny. And this is the last thing. So this is the interesting thing I was talking about in regards to Diggle, and this sort of came towards the end of this interview with Screen Rant, so that's why it's here. I just did them in order. I didn't leave it at the end intentionally, but here's the Diggle thing. Do you and Diggle finally get to do more things this season? Because every season he's there for less than 5 minutes. I know, but as you know, here's the problem. David Ramsey is too high in demand. He's doing all this other stuff. I've grown close to David, who was an amazing guy, and I really like him. He comes to direct again this season, which is really cool. But let's keep it real. You're not going to see him. There are just too many things happening. But I'm sure he'll come back at some point. That's above my pay grade. I love David, and I love getting to work with him, whether it's in front of or behind the camera. Now, this, of course, is going to disappoint a lot of people, because I think we assumed, and even I think David Ramsey himself said he was in this season after season 2 ended, in the break between seasons 2 and 3, he said he was going to be on Superman and Lois this season. So I don't know if this is Wole Parks keeping it a secret, just not exactly saying when Diggle is showing up or in what storyline exactly or what exactly happens there. I'm not too sure, but we were led to believe he was going to be here because David Ramsey said he was going to be in there. Now, we knew that David Ramsey was directing. He posted a photo on Instagram of him directing Superman and Lois this season, so that's not a surprise there. But I don't know. I'm finding this as a bit of a surprise. I mean, The Flash was able to get David Ramsey to come over. Obviously, that might have been because Stephen Amell was coming back as Oliver Queen. That might have been the hook that definitely made David come back and do Flash. But surely he would do this, and then if you knew you weren't going to be able to get David to play Diggle in season 3, would you have really specifically had him the person who did the thing at the end of season 2? You could have made General Lane do it or something like that, or Sam Lane. I don't know. I don't know if I 100% believe this, but this obviously is going to be in the back of my head watching this season. I'm like, well, is Diggle even going to show up? So that might disappoint a lot of people. It probably disappoints me a bit because I was expecting there, and I was expecting him to play at least some sort of decent role in the John Henry Irons story and being like a sort of like information relayer and also a bit of maybe a partner in crime if needed. But yeah, this sort of surprised me when I read it. I'm just hoping that maybe it's just Wole Parks trying to like misdirect us, so then when Diggle does show up, it's a bit of a surprise. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all this stuff. What are your thoughts on the Diggle stuff? Does that disappoint you? Do you think it's a bit of a misdirect and Diggle's actually going to be there? What are your thoughts on some of the other stuff that we talked about in this interview and those set photos and stuff like that as well? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.